Welcome everyone to this powerful ceremonial event. That we're so glad that you're here. Tammy and I have been having so much fun putting this together. And I'm gonna start by opening sacred space so that we have a safe container for the work that we're about to do with all of you. And we're so glad that you're here and doing this with us, because of course we know that when we come together, that the power of what we're doing is increased exponentially. So the number of us that are here and that tune in later and all of that is going to create a massive field of transformational change that we can all take part in, and that is just awesome. So here we go. I just invite everyone to imagine that you're standing around a sacred bonfire. And maybe we all take hands and just feel into this, this energy that we're creating together, and that we are in awe of this fire that is before us, that is the container, is the alchemical cauldron that we are going to place the old stories so they can begin their transformative process. And that is the gift that we have for us before us. And we call in all our guardian angels, beings of light, master teachers, guides, ascended masters, helping spirits, power animals, all our ancestors, all of the beings of light that are here to support us at this time. And to also call upon each and everyone's higher self to help us be present to the possibilities that we are bringing forth now, of letting go of our old stories and bringing in our new stories. We also give gratitude for each of the directions. We start in the north, the place of the winter solstice, the element of earth, the place where we have the new moon and the midnight sun, and the wisdom of the grandmothers and the grandfathers, the wise ones, the elders, that support us in this journey at this time. We also call upon and invite in the energies of the east, the place of the rising sun, the balance of day and night, the spring equinox, the first quarter moon, and where we connect with the dragon fire that fuels the ley lines of the earth, and the serpent fire that fuels the energy within us, that allows us, that helps us, that supports us in taking the actions that will help us create a new reality that we all deeply desire within our hearts. We also give thanks to the energies of the south, the place of the midday sun, the full moon, the summer solstice, and the element of water that nourishes the seeds we have planted and we are growing and tending and cultivating, that are coming into fruition at this time. We also give thanks to the grandmother turtle, who reminds us that we're at home wherever we are, to Coyote, who reminds us not to take ourselves so seriously, to have fun and to play and to be creative and to do it together. And we give thanks for the energies of the west, the place of the setting sun, where we are celebrating the autumnal equinox, the balance between light and dark and day and night. And we recognize that this is also the dreaming space, and we give thanks to Bear for helping us to realize and remember that we are dreaming our reality. The world is as we dream it. And thanks to Jaguar for helping to track our dreams into this reality and to help them to become a manifest reality by protecting these dreams and helping us to know what actions to take so they become a reality. We also give thanks to the center, the as above, so below, as within, so without, so that we recognize that we are informing the mysteries as much as they are informing us. It is a sacred relationship, and that what we see outside of us is what is within us. And if we want to change what is outside of us, we must change what is within us. It is from the inside out. And that is what we are here to do today, and give thanks to all these energies that are supporting this process now. Aho.
Thank you, Kaylin. I really, really felt that. And I felt so much gratitude in that moment as you were sharing all of that. And I could just so feel this energy gathering and feeling gratitude for all the times we've had together to do this work. Um, and it's raining now. Here we have thunder. You know, we have these energies of both Jupiter and Pluto together today. And so it's going to be that we're kind of dancing between these energies of more of the joyfulness and more of the holding space for hopefulness, and also the space of grief and of the acknowledgement of what it is that we are collectively, many of us have been holding or navigating that can sometimes feel quite dark and are quite challenging. So I just want to begin. We're going to begin by speaking to kind of what our intent is in this gathering in the first place, which is that we were really excited to be able to offer two kind of free gatherings, because, you know, we do so much this just in the context of our larger journey with Venus morning star and evening star as we take everyone through the ceremonial gates and the initiatory process. And we love that. And we recommend to anyone who's not in that group that you consider, if you're able, to join us, because it is very powerful. And what we're doing here is just a little bit of a taste of that. But it feels so important right now to gather in circle. It feels so important right now to make this accessible and available. And so we've wanted to really create these open spaces for us to have a sense of community, to really bring the Venus Alchemy community together and initiate this Venus cycle as powerfully together as we can in a really beautiful and open way. So choosing to do it today when Jupiter and Pluto are conjunct, it also felt quite important to have some potent ceremony in this moment. And so this is why, you know, Kaylin's already begun to help us to open space and to see that alchemical bonfire, and we can imagine that we're in that circle together right now. And so we're going to be doing some work together and some play together to work to look at the stories we've been telling and to explore how we can tell a new story. So the first piece of that is going to be to share and to consider, what is a story that I've been telling about myself, or a story that I've been living that maybe was given to me at some point in my life that is really has caused a large degree of suffering or of struggle in my life. So what is this story that I'm really, I've had, and I'm really wanting to let that story go? So Kaylin, do you want to start just talking a little bit about your own experience of that story? And then I'm going to share. So we're going to model this, because basically then we're going to go into breakout, and we're in small groups, and you're going to be able to have some time to explore with your partners or partner, what is a story for me about that's not working, and then to do some conscious complaining, actually be able to say, wow, this really sucks for me, and so we're going to model this. These are some of the things that we do in the context of Venus Alchemy.
Yeah, so something for people to know is that the conscious complaining is a opportunity. It's basically what the what happens in the Inanna story when Inanna goes into the underworld and then her dark goddess sister kills her. And then she's complaining about how life sucks and how it's so painful for her, and she's got an unfair deal and that sort of thing. And then she's witnessed, and it's mirrored back to her, and it's healing. So that's the gift of this process. One of the things that we learn from the story of it's the cycle of Venus, the story of Venus, and how the Sumerians told that story. So one of the things I have done, and I'll post a link to the article I wrote about the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. It's a really big deal. This is the second of 3 conjunctions happening today. And it's an alchemy. It's a powerful alchemy. And it's very rare to have 3 conjunctions of Jupiter and Pluto when they come together. They do come together about every 12 or 13 years. But to have 3 of them, it was 1955 and 1956 the last time it happened. I happen to be born in 1956, so I have a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction on my natal chart. And I was writing this story about how, you know, a lot of astrologers used to look at that and say, oh my God, you're so lucky. That's such a great combination to have. I feel like, I don't feel that way to me. So, so in the story, I tell a little bit of that story, but it's also what I realized is part of the story that I've been living is coming into a life where I was unwelcomed. My father wanted my mother to have an abortion or give me up for adoption. And then as I was growing up, he loved to tell me that I ruined his life and that all his problems were because of me. And I took on that story. So then I wound up recreating those situations in my life. And I thought I had done a pretty good job of transmuting and transforming them. I've been working with this story for a while. But I've had some recent experiences that, or it's like, I realize I've maybe transmuted 85% of it and I still have some work to do. It's like, not feeling lucky, not feeling like this has been a great gift, like sometimes feeling that this has been super painful and really difficult. I'm a high sensitive person. So these things that have come at me and have come towards me caused me a lot of pain and also shut down and also fear. Interestingly, many people are sometimes surprised to know this, fear of speaking in front of other people because I was trying to hide and not be seen because I didn't feel welcome. I shouldn't be taking up space in this world. I was a mistake, all of those kinds of things. And literally I can now show up because I have done a lot of work on transmuting that story, but I can still find myself like feeling a little nervous, like, oh God, what if I say something wrong or upset somebody or offend somebody or whatever, because, that's the challenge that sometimes can happen. And interestingly, I've had that experience somewhat recently. And I wrote something 8 years ago in 2012 about this woman who was really angry with me for something that I was a volunteer. I wasn't even responsible for. And she just called me a liar and a cheat. And she was just so angry. I was like, this is opportunity to do deeper work. And I revisited that recently. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm in that place where I get to do some more deeper dive into what that's about for me. So that's probably enough. That story.
Thank you, Kaylin. Thank you so much. That story is so powerful and so helpful, I'm sure, for others. And when you tell the story about being afraid to speak, I think also that's always given me pause. And I so honor that what you do and the journey you've been through to get there. So for me, my story, the story that I was coming to yesterday, that's a story I've been navigating, has been the story that I should be all people I should be able to be everyone to everyone, or whatever anyone needs at any time, at all times. I wrote it differently, but it's just this, okay, I should be available all the time for everyone in the ways they need. And it was so funny because I was just talking to Talon about this morning, and I'm like, this is my thing. And actually, I think I wrote it more elegantly, but he said, oh yeah, that's totally you. And it was nice to have someone who knows me well to reflect back to me that, yes, this is something that he sees me live into. And for me, I think that it started really young. When I was even a baby and when I was very small, my mom was very sick. She had 6 children already at that time. We figured out later, she was probably in the beginning stages of cancer. She had 2 miscarriages right after me because she had a IUD. And at that time, they were really kind of experimenting with women, especially poor women and working class women in these kinds of technologies. And so it really depleted her. And so I was born into this context that was very dark, that was very depressing. She had an incredible amount of depression, and I linked up with her emotionally. And she'll tell stories about how even when I was 3 or 4, I would, when I started talking, I'd be like, Mom, you're sad. What's wrong? I know you're sad. And I just automatically was that emotional caregiver for her. And I'm an empath. And so I was always feeling what I felt and absorbed from my mom early on was this experience of there's not enough of me to go around. There's too much to do, but I need to show up for everybody because if I don't, I'm the mama here, but I don't have enough. And so in a lot of ways, that was an imprint that I experienced early on that has played out in different ways in my life, where then having 9 kids in my family and actually being someone who can be very personal and very connected with people. But the reality is that I can do it for short doses. but people want it to be all the time. So I've always had a lot of people in my life who want me to be kind of almost like a partner to them. And I don't have that much of me because I'm a pretty intimate, personal kind of individual. So I love people, but I can't be all those things to everyone. Has actually been a very painful experience in a lot of ways because I want to love everybody and I want to be there, but it's not possible. So balancing personal with the collective for me has always been a point of a blind spot, a place of pain, because it's also cost me in my closest relationships where balancing boundaries there with boundaries there has been, it's been something that I've, really had to do a lot of work around, and I'm definitely still doing a lot of work around. So this is a story that I'm still very much in the midst of, especially coming out of a Libra to Gemini cycle. It's very alive. And so, I'll say, Kaylin, it's wonderful. Kaylin's always sharing these stories of, and I'm transmuting. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And I really very much feel the aliveness of the story, to be completely honest. And with you, it's in my face. And that may be for you, whatever your story is, it's in your face. So, that's my story. And so I want to now, Kaylin, is there anything you think we need to do before we break into explain and then do the breakouts?
No, I think this is a good, this is where we're planning to start, right? So this is a good
Okay,
thing. Yeah.
great,
And
awesome.
hopefully, as Tammy's going to get ready to explain what we're doing, but hopefully our sharing an example of what we are working with and what we realize is up for us right now helps you to be able to tune into what might be up for you. And everybody's going to have something different. Not, they're not, or maybe you can relate to one of our stories.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, but it doesn't, you can have that story or something similar, or you have something completely different. And whatever it is, it's time to give voice to that.
Mm-hmm. It's the Gemini cycle after all. And, we realized, there aren't as many people this time because in some ways there's so much going on that can be a little challenging anyway. It's like, oh God, do you really want to go and tell your story and focus on what's hard? I'll tell you, the intent of this is for some catharsis. The intent for this is for some releasing. So what we're going to do now is, you may have read the email this morning and read the other email and have some idea of what that story is. You may have already written it down. You might not know, or you might have something new kind of bubbling up inside of you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you join up in groups of 2 or 3, and you're going to just share with each other whatever comes from the heart or whatever you've prepared about the story about yourself that's really been present for you and alive. And we didn't go through a whole conscious complaining process. If we would have maybe bitched about it some more. We did that before. What is this costing me? How is this, so you might, if we have time, we're going to meet for about 10 minutes. So about 3 minutes, it'll be about 2 minutes apiece, basically. So about 8 minutes actually. So once we get together. And so, so it's just going to be a place to share what's going on. And then when we come out of it, then we're going to take some time to really be with that and to do some work to meet it and to do some, begin the alchemical process. So I'm going to go ahead and, interesting, breakout rooms. So you're going to, again, be in groups of 2 to 3 courageous people, courageous friends, who showed up to do this deeper work. Because let me just say again, the Pluto Jupiter aspect to this, everything we do here, all the healing and all the willingness to be emotionally authentic, the power of that, what it will free up in us is incredible because of the number of us. And also I want to just say, again, we're in a place of just understanding we are in this window between 2 new moons in Cancer, where we invite the great mother presence. This is a place of emotional safety, of nurturance. Nothing that happens in here is going to go anywhere else. And so just understand that this is a safe space to share what comes up. Okay, so I'm going to create the rooms now. You're going to be invited into a room. And so you want to join. I'm going to unmute everyone. And again, we'll have about 8 minutes. And I'll send out little notes after every 2-minute session, and so that we know when to switch. Okay, so
Better unmute myself.
There you are. So I've already shared my story, so we can definitely hear from you.
All right. Oh, well, I a lot of what Tammy said resonated. But on Thursday night, I sliced the back of my Achilles on the screen door. I was in the middle of a Koya class and it shut. And I went into complete shock and called my shaman auntie and had that moment of, okay, I'm going to stay alive in this lifetime. And then she came over and we did our thing. And fortunately, the cut wasn't too deep, but she thought we probably needed to go to the hospital for stitches. But we did some soul retrieval and past life stuff. And, you know, I'd been killed by the slice of the ankle and the depth, the lung. And so I did the mercy prayers of, you know, forgive me for all the times I've killed and have been killed and like all of that stuff. And as we were running all of those prayers, the wound healed up. She's been a naturopath also for years. And she's like, I couldn't believe it. I thought we were going to the hospital. She said, I don't like going to the hospital, but I thought we were going. And as we were running all those prayers, so I've been working with that killer and victim, as well as the empath and the narcissist. I worked through with that a lot in the Libra cycle.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my story, and I'm ready to let go of that, all in this life and past lives, and so. Yeah, I'm ready to let go. And I've been now, like I've got an air cast and I can't really move a whole lot. And so I've been forced to just be still and listen for the last few days. So that's where I am.
Interesting. So you're getting your attention, getting you to be more still, and also creating a miracle that you could witness with your eyes.
Yes. Yeah. And my aunt said that it was a portal for her too, that it was a give and take, and we were, creating this healing portal together. So, and I've learned a lot since then about like the last few days, just about the different staging of healing. She's been kind of training me for the last few years, but not explicitly. But now she's like, and you need to know this, and you need to know this.
That is great.
Yeah. So yeah, the watching the mirror, it was amazing. So
yeah, that is amazing, because I feel like when we're willing, to first of all, we need to be willing to suspend belief. Whatever our conditioned beliefs are, and our conditioned stories, right? So that something amazing can happen. And I love that you share this story, because that is, the first place you might go is like, oh shit, I gotta go get stitches in a hospital, and
Well, I also have that story of I have Hygeia and my Cancer moon. Anyway, I have this fear of. I'm just angry about the medical story, which is also, how medicine's been and plants. Anyway, I have that. And we had to run that healing. I forgot that. Thank you for bringing that. We had to run that healing at the same time, because I had to get to the place where I was neutral to be able to go to the hospital. And she did too.
Right.
So that's also been a huge part of my story since birth, of not wanting drugs, like pharmaceutical drugs, and reclaiming the Hygeia and the plant medicine.
Okay, so I kind of share that with you. When I was 1 month old, I developed a hematoma. I was a forceps delivery. I developed a hematoma. My mom took me to the doctor, and they're like, oh, we think she has water on the brain. I was like, no, she doesn't. She freaked out, and they go, we don't really, and then after a while, they said, we don't really know what's wrong with her. You need to take her to the children's hospital, like an hour away. And so she takes me there, and they say, oh, we'll just leave her here and we'll get back to you. 9 days went by. And she calls them up and she said, I want my baby back. What it was a hematoma that it just, because I was a forceps delivery, and it had created that thing. And I feel like I was probably wanting to check out because I came into an unwanted situation. But my guides came in and convinced me, you can do this.
Stay here for a bit.
So I stuck around. but I, I've not been fond of the whole medical, traditional medical system. I think they're great in an emergency. But
yes, and that's what I was facing. But even then, I didn't want to go.
Right.
But,
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're facing that collectively right now.
Right.
You know, we're not being told to take zinc or vitamin D, or we're not
No,
being told any of that. We're just being told, hang out for the vaccine. Hang on, it's coming. The chips are coming too. Anyway, so like that's been huge. That's been really up for me right now. Like I have more fear of a vaccine than I do of the virus.
Right. Yeah, same here. And I'm maybe some people don't feel that way, and but I've had vaccine injuries also. Like
I have too.
So I have good reason.
Yeah. And that's part of when I got that part of that with the getting killed at the heel. But then I had the vaccine injury after I had twisted my ankle at high school cross country running, and then it was, it's vaccine day for whatever, and went into the nurses station and got jabbed, and so it's all connected.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I stepped on a nail and then had to have a tetanus booster. I don't remember my early vaccines. I was like 5, but I don't remember how they affected me. I think I was in a bit of a fog, but I so remember that because for a good 2 months, my arm was on fire. It was like, and I had to walk around. I think it was probably this arm. I don't know, but I had to walk around, and a teacher grabbed me by that arm, and I screamed in pain. And she's like, "Oh, that can't be that bad," like really shaming. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" I felt like I was being stabbed, or my arm cut off, or it was bad. And I was like feverish and kind of out of it, and I was like, and it lasted for such a long time. So I was like, yeah, that wasn't a good thing. Anyway, yeah. So so that's part of the story too, is like the pharmaceutical stories we've been told. Like you've got to be vaccinated, and you've got to take certain drugs for certain things, and you've got to do certain ways of I remember taking my children to the doctor and to the pediatrician when they were in their early checkup, and who wanted to vaccinate them. Mom was like, no, I'm gonna put poison in my pure babies. Yeah. And he started shaming me, and I never went back. I was like, nope, never going back. First of all, why am I sitting in a room full of 6 kids with my my newborn babies?
Yeah. I mean, that story is up right now. A whole lot of the shadow of the Bill Gates writing an article in the Lancet medical journal. Come on.
Right. Yeah. What are your credentials again?
Yeah.
Wait, you're a billionaire. I guess that's it.
Right. Yeah. But I want that news story of like people having their own autonomy for their health and not deferring their power to a doctor. Like, it doesn't mean we can't use other sources for our medical support, but that we have the inner authority. Waking up to the fact that we take what we need and we leave the rest. But
exactly. And I'm literally, I'll just tell this story because this is one place I do appreciate the medical thing. Is my youngest son got epiglottitis when he was 3, and he was intubated in the emergency room, and it saved his life.
Right.
And I was like grateful for that. Of course, they pumped him full of all kinds of stuff that he's still dealing with all these years, 35 years later. Right?
Yeah.
And gut issues and all that stuff from all the antibiotics I gave him. but they did save his life, and I'm grateful for that. And
Yeah.
so there is a place for that.
Yes.
I'm not like down with the medical system.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
But how can we create it in a way that's a new way that really is about how do we support people in being healthy, and not how to support people in continuing to be sick, which is what it feels like is happening.
Yeah. I agree. I'm with you.
Hey, it's great to see you, Martha.
Yeah, good to see you too. Here's to the new story.
Yeah, new stories. We're going to create new stories everywhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. So it looks like we're being asked to come back. So.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I know, I don't know why there was 2 photos. No, Millie and I, and it was just like,
good.
it was
Oh,
meant.
perfect. Okay, good. We had a big group and we didn't hear from everybody, but we'll take a moment before we do this next part to give everybody the space to kind of feel into this a little more. Yeah, what great sharing. Oh, I'm so glad, Sandra, because from my screen, it almost looks like you're really there.
Right.
Fabulous lipstick. Millie.
So I don't know, we might need to mute people again.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. And Kaylin, unmute you. Okay.
Awesome.
So, awesome. Okay, wonderful. So we've got our 37 people here. I don't know if there's anybody still in the breakouts. I don't think so. We maybe lost a couple people, but that's all right. All right, so I'm now going to just invite each of us, now that we've had that sharing, we're kind of going to move into a different zone now. And when we think about these stories, these old stories that we've been living in, there are a couple of ways that we can be with those stories now. And this song that I'm going to share with us next is going to be an opportunity for us to move with those energies and to see how they feel in the body. I'm going to take you through a really simple exercise, and then we're going to do some just movement. But also this song that I'm choosing, it's by Nina Simone, and I just found it this morning, and I found it to be so powerful because Nina was such a potent force in the world. And in this song, you'll hear I don't begin at the very beginning of the song, or when she's speaking. I begin at a point where she's basically saying no. She's standing up as the queen that she is, and if you think about the time where she lived, she's African-American woman who's been told a story about who she is, what she can do, what she can't do. Just really consider her story for a moment. And yet she somehow finds within herself the truth of the reality. She is a queen. She's not going to accept this story. She's not going to accept disrespect from those around her. She's going to claim exactly who she is. She's going to find her voice, and she's going to express it. And so I chose this song because there are 2 energies available in that song for us. One is there's a grief, there's a sadness that we can allow ourselves to express around what we've lost or what we've experienced, and that's important. There's also that feeling of resistance. No, I will not accept this story. No, this story is not true for me. And so this is why I chose the song I did, and in a moment you'll know what it is, you'll see what it is that I'm speaking to. So before we go into the song, let's just take a moment. We're in our seats to take a couple of deep breaths, and once again to consider, what is this story that I've been living, this story that has been a source of struggle for me in my life, a story that sometimes has felt very painful to experience in my life. And as we soften into our bodies and into our breath, to ask, where does this story live inside of my body? And when you feel where it is in your body, to take a moment to just breathe into that place in the body, to ask, is it a sensation of tightness where this story is in my body? Is it contraction? Is it pain? Continuing to breathe and to be present with this story, with the feeling that comes up in you around it in your body. Does it have a color? Does it have a texture? Does it have a scent? And right in this moment, we're just allowing ourselves to kind of listen and to be present with this story and the part of ourselves that's been hurting because of this story. And now as you continue to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this song. And when you're ready, I'm going to invite you, and you might step away from your screen if you feel self-conscious, whatever you wish to do. As I play this song, I'm going to invite you to let yourself move with whatever comes up around how it has felt for you to live this story. And you may also, just as Nina does, have a moment, either when she embodies this or later, where part of your movement is an act of saying no more. So let this flow for you in whatever way feels accurate and feels true.
As Tammy's putting that up, I'm just going to say that when we can move it in our body, we begin that process of starting to release whatever's been locked up inside of our cells, inside of our muscles and tissues and ligaments and whatever it is. And so it's a way. And so with the movement, just thinking about how you're accessing any of these stuck places, any of these places that have been traumatized, or whatever might be going on for you, and letting it go, releasing it through the movement. And that's the gift of what it is that we're doing. And this is really powerful. I've done a lot of this in the past, and it's like, it can feel so liberating. So I highly encourage everyone to move in whatever way works for you. Whatever you feel guided, if you want to shake it hard, or you want to just gently, sway, or whatever works for you, but just that movement with the intention of all of this stuck story getting out of your body, and all of our bodies, our emotional body, our physical body, our spiritual body, our mental body, wherever it might be. So just wanting to share that. So yeah, I think we're ready now.
Stars, they come and go. They come fast, they come slow. They go like the last light of the sun, all in a blaze. Hey girl, sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Stars, they come and go. They come fast, they come slow. They go like the last light of the sun, all in a blaze. All you see is glory. But it gets lonely there when there's no one there to share. You can shake it away. If you hear a story, people lust for fame, like athletes in a game. They break their collarbones and come up swinging. Some of them are crowned, some of them are downed, some are lost and never found. But most have seen it all. They live their lives inside cafes and music halls. And they always have a story. Some make it when they're young, before the world is done its dirty job. But later on, someone will say you've had your day. Now you must make way. Don't they always? But you never know the pain of using a name you never owned. The years of forgetting what you know too well. That you who gave the crown have been let down. You tried to make amends without defending. Perhaps pretending you never saw the eyes of young men at 25 who followed as you walked, asked for autographs, kissed you on the cheek. You never could believe they really loved you. Never. Some make it when they're old. Perhaps they have a soul they aren't afraid to bear. Perhaps there's nothing there. Anyway, that isn't what I meant to say. I meant to tell about a story, since we all have stories. But I can't remember it anyway. So I'll tell about the mood that's in the United States today, and permeating even Switzerland. It goes. I'll continue anyway until I get it together. Some women have a body men will want to see, so they put it on display. Some people play a fine guitar. I could listen to them play all day. Anyway, I'm trying to tell my story.
You're going to want to start to complete now the sacred movement. Nina.
Janis Joplin told it even better. Billie Holiday even told it even better.
So we're back.
A little emotionally moving, right?
A little bit. I've been crying all freaking morning. So was Nina not magnificent? So, and such a goddess. So thank you for letting that through, for being so present with that. So here we are, just letting that be, letting this story move through us as it does, and knowing this is such a powerful time for us to allow ourselves to feel. Your own work, dude.
That's good. That's really good.
That's good. Thank you, Talon. Okay, so I'm so lucky. Yeah. Okay. So when we let ourselves feel this, and this is a big part of where we're at right now, is it's so essential for us to be present to what is coming through and to have regular practices where we can feel the very very real eruptions that are coming through for all of us, because as a collective we are doing such deep soul retrieval work. Kaylin, when you first started, I was feeling like it's the anima mundi, you know, the soul of the world is crying. The soul of the world has been hurting, and each one of us are an expression of that. And so to miss the opportunity to go into these places that feel so dark and to begin to understand the richness that lives in that darkness is what we're here for. So this is, yes, that's love, says Sherry. So this next piece then, you know, we're in a phase right now here in the US and across the globe where there's so much that's breaking open. We don't know what comes after our old story. I'll just tell you personally, I don't even begin to know how it would feel to not have this as a story that I continually am struggling with. I have no idea. I have no idea how that looks and feels. Right now, for many of us, it's an unknowing. It's a bewilderment. So this next story, this next song, though, we're going to invite you again to move into movement. It is just the newness that's also breaking open at the same time as all of this death, and especially with purifying and cleansing tears. So this next song, it's called New Soul. It is by no means a new song, but it is one that to me feels really sweet and very honoring of this new self, this new emerging Gemini fool from the tarot. We don't know what we're doing. That's okay. We're gonna do it anyway. So this is the next song that I'll share as New Soul. And again, just to take this time to let yourself move with this new fresh energy that wants to come through in the wake of this kind of purification that we get to invite in. So
I'm a new soul. I came to this strange world hoping I could learn a bit about how to give and take. But since I came here, felt the joy and the fear, finding myself making every possible mistake. La 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 la. I'm a young soul
very strange world, hoping I could learn a bit about how to give and take. But since I came here, I felt the joy and the fear, finding myself making every possible mistake.
That was a fun Gemini song, just saying. Like, great way to pick the energy up after we've got allowed ourselves to go into the deep dive, right? But Tammy, you're muted, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah, I just remembered that song and how much I loved it. Actually, if anybody wants to, we'll post the video that goes with it because it's really fun. I always love the video that goes with it.
I felt like I was a little kid dancing and playing with.
I know. Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay, that was sweet. Thank you, everybody. Fun to see and feel you dancing. So, part 2. Martha, it's so good to see you. If I wouldn't have been so last minute, I would have asked you to figure this movement part out. Not to put you on the spot.
I've got canes now, so I'm not. Anyway.
Oh, that's right.
I'm moving in a very gentle way.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, sending so much love. Thanks, Martha. That's right. Whew. Okay, so all right. So this next layer then that we're going to be moving into is around the more of, again, the collective or the world soul, or what it is that we're experiencing as a human species among other relations on this planet right now, and the great and grand movements of change and how this is feeling for us. And so, you know, we had offered that people bring an old story that we've been telling about each other, about the world, that we're ready to compost or offer to the alchemical fire. And so we wanted to say that in our next, we're going to have another breakout. So in this next breakout, it may be that you have something prepared. It might also be, I'll just share for myself. Well, first of all, you know, Kaylin and I, Kaylin, I wish we could, am I spotlighted? You can unspotlight me so we can both.
I don't think you are.
Okay, yeah. It's just what I'm seeing. It's
but on my computer, it is recording you. And
okay.
Then if I'm talking, it's probably recording me.
Okay, great, perfect. Okay, so Kaylin and I, you know, we wrote this in the email, but we both have been feeling so strongly, and I've heard this in many other places, that many variations of the story of the survival of the fittest kind of paradigm is something that we are seeing at such a deep level playing out in the world around us, that belief that to be strong, you know, that it's okay to prey on the weak, that we live in an entire economic system based on this in some level, where that's where it's gone. And so we just want to really counter that. We want to just say that is actually one of the layers of this Gemini journey that we're going to be approaching together. How do we unravel the different variations of that story? And like Kaylin was bringing up eugenics the roots of, you know, really of what we're dealing with in this country and what in this globe around the roots of white supremacy and, you know, how that plays into it. You can look at what happened for women in the Victorian era with the ways that we were seen as being, well, less than in so many ways, but even in that, so there's so many ways it plays out. Do you want to say anything about it, Kaylin, about that larger theme?
Well, just that it is based in a scarcity belief. It's there's only so much, and I need to get as much as I possibly can. And the fittest people, the strongest people, the most successful people, the whatever words you want to put on it, are the ones that are going to do well, and everybody else, well, too bad. And it really is a disconnection from the heart, because we're all connected, and if anybody's suffering, we're all suffering. Just we don't remember that, or a lot of people don't get that, or they're so disconnected from their heart space. So how do we come up, and literally some people may not know this, but Charles Darwin stole the idea of survival of the fittest and made it his, because he was a wealthy white guy, you know. He was able to get away with that. And there was somebody else who'd come up with another way of looking at it that was more about how like animals that work together in packs and in groups and in herds and whatever, and how that it's not about the fittest that survives, it's about how the connection between them all helps them with thriving and not just surviving. So survival of the fittest is all focused on the surviving part and not on the thriving part. So that's the main thing I wanted to say about that. And just that, how do we retell this story? How do we come up with a new way of thriving together so that we all have our needs met, and we are getting to live our purpose, and we're getting to share the gifts that we have because everybody has them. That's what I'm feeling is the new story I'd like to tell anyway.
Thank you. I love that. I appreciate that so much. And I know as a biologist, that was my background originally, that it was so potent for me to learn about Lynn Margulis. I might be saying her name wrong, but she was a biologist probably in the 90s, who started doing the research also more recently that really showed how cooperative species are the ones who are most likely to survive over time. And that's even mirrored in our own bodies, where our mitochondria are actually the product of these, you know, co-creative organisms coming together. And that's who we are. You know, we're twice as much comprised of other beings than we are of our own human human matter. So that's another, we're so much more. And the cooperative model is the model of life. So that's one of the stories, survival of the fittest, that we want to challenge. So I wanted to just say, Kaylin and I both had a lot of insights, but we always do. We figure out our courses, and we just, and then we have a lot come through. And for me this morning, like I said, I was just crying all morning, because for many reasons. But one was just, again, just in that place of heaviness in the heart around what's happening in the world, especially in the US, just feeling so much heaviness around what we're all collectively facing, just heartache, you know, and how do we move from where we are now into something that can be soul healing and heart healing. And so I was thinking of songs, and I flashed on this moment during the Nobel Peace Prize event where Patti Smith was singing, and this was right after our last presidential election. And she was singing, and some of you may have already heard this, but in the middle of her song, and if you know her work at all, she's so masterful. She breaks down and she forgets the words. And it's just this moment when you listen to this, it's Bob Dylan's Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. And the timing of that right after our election and what our soul was experiencing collectively, I think especially for women and for men who really love the earth and the feminine. She, to me, like the soulfulness of her voice and her apology for having screwed it up, it's just, whoa, like it just hears, you know, she's just this forecasting, this foreshadowing of this broken moment where we knew something we were going through a descent, a dark night of the soul for our nation. And so, you know, I'm going to share that song in a little bit, but actually we were going to do a breakout first. Kaylin, what do you think? Should we do a breakout? around the world's collective thing, or should we have people do that personally?
Maybe personally. I mean, I feel like because if we do this and then we can have people share at the end. That might be a better way to do it. So,
okay. So then the way we propose you do this is, let's just take a moment. If you haven't come with some idea of what the story is in the world around you, like survival of the fittest or whatever, if you don't have that strong story in your mind that lives in your body that you're really feeling, it's okay to just have this kind of, like I do, like this kind of vague sense of sadness or heartbreak around what our human species is experiencing right now as a whole, and trying to grapple with what we've been doing to our earth, what we've been doing to each other, what the hurting part of us as a species. You might just dance with that. You might just feel that broken place in you around that, and that's fine. So whatever it is, this is our time to dance for the grief that's in the collective, and to know we're a part of that. We're all connected. And so we're not immune to that, you know, and so to let ourselves feel it, let ourselves move with that. And so this is the song, and I'm gonna invite you all, before we go into the song, again, just to take a couple of deep breaths and to move into the body and to let ourselves feel in our body, in our heart, anything that wants to arise around what's happening for our human family right now, and that might be brought into what's happening in our beautiful, beautiful earth. So just letting ourselves move into the heart, where the heart feels what's happening in the world around us and where it hurts. It's okay to let ourselves feel this in this moment, in this now. And Kaylin, if you want to talk a little bit more about it, I want to make sure that I don't have that it starts in a good way.
Right place. Okay. So if you have, one of the things if you have a sense of a collective story that perhaps you've been at the effect of, I know we've all been at the effect of survival of the fittest in some way or another. That might have been a good way or a bad way, or somewhere in between. But to feel into that, and then what would be really great is when we come back from this, is to have people share either in chat or on live moment. So yeah, are we ready?
Ready.
Where you been, my blue-eyed son? Where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled alongside of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I've crawled down 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. Been out in front of a 12 dead oceans. Been 10,000 miles on the mouth of a graveyard. It's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain's gonna fall. What did you see, my blue-eyed son? What did you see, my darling young one? Saw a newborn babe with wild wolves all around it. Saw a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw the black branch with blood that kept dripping. I saw the babe that was just bleeding. I saw the babe that... I'm sorry. Heard... Saw 10... Sorry. I'm sorry. Could we start that section? I apologize. Sorry, I'm so nervous. So a newborn babe with wild wolves all around it. So a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. Saw a room full of men whose hammers were bleeding. I saw a white ladder all covered with water. Saw 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. I saw guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain's gonna fall. But did you hear, my blue-eyed son? And what did you hear, my darling young one? Heard the sound of a thunder that roared out a warning. Heard the roar of a wave that could drown the whole world. Heard one person laughing, heard many people laughing. Heard nobody listening. Heard one person starve, heard many people laughing. Heard the song of a poet who died in the gutter. Heard the sound of a clown that cried in the alley. It's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain's gonna fall. Who did you meet, my blue-eyed son? And who did you meet, my darling young one? I met a young child beside a dead pony. I met a young man and had a black dog. I met a young woman whose body was burning. I met a young girl, she gave me a rainbow. I met a young man, he was wounded in love. I met another man, he was wounded in hatred. It's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain's gonna fall. And what do you do now, my blue-eyed son? And what do you do now, my darling young one? I'm going back out where the rain starts a falling. I'm going down deep in the deepest black forest, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooded their waters, where home in the valley meets a damp, dirty prison, and the executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where souls are forgotten, where black is the color, where none is the number. And I'll tell it and think it and speak it and breathe it and reflect from.
We're going to go ahead and complete now a little early because it's a very long song.
And I'll stand in the ocean until I sinking. I don't know my soul well if I start singing. It's hard, it's hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain's are gonna fall.
Okay, so now we're going to take just a moment to just want to honor again everyone for being willing to feel that and move with that. And you know, Kaylin, it feels more authentic to me if we let ourselves be in that moment for a little minute and we let people share a little bit about anything that they may not have had a chance to share yet. And we're going to complete with a song that is more of that medicine that emerges with this Jupiter energy of the new vision. So we're going to let ourselves be in this moment with this Plutonic Capricornian energy, and just really, what do you think, Kaylin? Just open it up for sharing of anything that you're experiencing.
I think that's great. And I just also want to say that the last song is also very much the Gemini playful energy too. Of what you'll get it when we see when it's played.
Yeah,
we'll keep it until then.
Yeah. So if anyone who wants to share,
people can type into the chat as well, or if you have any questions about anything that you know, where we've shared about this, or anything about what's happening in the greater collective reality or whatever.
Well, and I also just want to preface to say, we recognize as soon as we start to venture into talking about the New World story and about what's happening in the world around us, that it's a really tender time in terms of partisan, political, what is happening, those pieces. So I think our larger intent is to share with a gentle heart, to share with this knowledge of the not knowing, to share from the heart and not from the disembodied mind, and also to hold a space of witness and love for whatever people come to the circle with. Really detaching our judgment for a moment, to just really stand with each other in the place that recognizing none of us have all the answers. So, okay.
Can I, is it all right? I unmuted myself. Is it all right if I share something?
Sure, yeah.
So
thank you, Jeffrey.
I'm, you know, for those who don't know, I'm in Minnesota. I've lived in the Twin Cities all my life, and I'm now have a beautiful place in the country on the edge. But obviously, all the eruption with George Floyd's death and all of the destruction that followed. I mean, you talk about a bonfire, and I was just listening just before this session to an NPR radio show about 1,500 buildings were damaged, and many of them razed to the ground. And the area was so full of rich ethnic diversity and was vibrant. And you hear about, you know, there was just the sadness and the grief. And Jesus Christ, I don't know if I can talk because your songs and my own shit. Sorry, folks, I just. But this was a great story because what's happening there is the people coming together, and in the wake of the destruction, there's all of this cooperation and organization around creating beauty, around creating, I mean, the real estate company that was developing the housing, they're going back in there, they're pouring footings in 2 weeks. They're rebuilding there's still a great need, but the whole thing is that this brought people together. These are, and just personally, these were places that I went to visit. One of the restaurants used community urban gardens and did all of this stuff, and it was burned to the ground. I used to go there all the time. And it's in that, in the wake of that kind of harshness, and it's hard to understand how, you know, what the reaction was against, and how these communities, these you know, minority-owned communities and cooperatives and all of that were the ones that were the most damaged. But the fact that people coming from their heart and with their pocketbooks and with their labor to rebuild is an incredible, positive news story. And I'm sorry, I'm so fucking emotional. Sorry, I'm just like, I can't quite hang here. Sorry.
Jeffrey, we are so with you right now, Jeffrey.
I just want to say I appreciate you sharing, because you're in the heart of it, and
Yeah.
there may be other people on the call that are there too. I don't know, but it's felt a little removed from me. But listening to what you're having to say, I really feel it, and I appreciate your emotion. And
Thank you.
And that's part of I think part of the old story is men aren't supposed to cry. And women, if they do, they're being manipulative or whatever. So there's an old story around that. But when our tears are from the heart and are genuine, this is something that we need to do together, perhaps, is make more space for that.
I would like to share.
Thank you.
Actually, sorry, I just real quickly, sweet. Yeah, I definitely. Oh, yeah. Okay, Laura Lee. Sorry. Right, Laura Lee.
Lori.
Lori.
Yeah.
Someone else, just to say real quickly, there were a couple of people in the chat who had wanted to share before anyone, so I just wanted to honor that real quick.
And we also have, Diara has a hand raised, so maybe Lori.
Okay, this is the order we're gonna go in then, just based on the chat, and then that, Lori, I definitely, we have to hear from you. And I wanted to just say that also Laura Lee had kind of posted something first, and then Ava, I think it's important that Ava be able to share briefly. So we may go over, we'll probably go over, just know that.
All right.
Yeah, Laura Lee.
I wanted to share with the question was in the world soul. I went way back to the dominant white male god that ruled everybody and was giving out punishment and rewards, and how unfitting that is in our world. It just really, and that's what I was raised on. So it's like the very basis of my belief system used to be, and that's falling away now, definitely. But it's just such a blinder that I grew up as a child just thinking that was all that there was without any other possibilities. So from the very beginning, this white dominance has ruled my life, and I just want to let go of that. And I have been working on that and letting go. It's so deep, though.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura
Thank
Lee.
you.
I so honor what you're saying, being raised in a very traditional Christian home. And the programming goes really deep of the layers of that are about a fearsome and a punishing figure. Yeah, it's something that it's at the root of so much. So thank you for that. And Ava Wolf, I just want to also honor and just say that, there's something that you had shared in the chat, which is, vulnerability right there around how the breakout session went. And I just want to just say to Kaylin and I are really aware that in this context, this is a one-off event, right? We're a community that's coming together right now, and we didn't provide a lot of guidelines into how we do this, but learning how to really deeply listen to another, how to witness, this is also something that we don't necessarily learn how to do. So wanting to honor the Ava, really want to hear your voice and hear what it is, if you wish, to share what's going on, so we as a group can hold that space for you.
Thank you. I really didn't mean
Oh,
to.
is that all right? Is that okay? Sorry.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean to draw that kind of, attention to myself, but I do think being just heard and witnessed is really important in a Plutonian atmosphere of, authentic, energetic experience and expressing that without, jumping to the alchemical suggestion of, what to do instead of having, the experience of what I'm feeling. So that was hard for me because it made me feel like the pain of my old story, should not be there, and should not have its space. I agree. It's already had plenty of space, and that's why I'm on the call. And that's how I'm showing up here, is in the spirit of what is being done here. Yeah. So that that's
Thank
all.
you.
But maybe some guidelines, for future, and especially in breakout group, because it becomes much more personal. With one or two other people.
Thank you so much for saying that. You are right. We should have given better guidelines for how to listen in the circle, and that I think it's such an important thing that you're saying, and just want to apologize for that experience, and also to honor that it's true. And this is part of where it's awkward, because we know it's not about bringing up what's difficult and then all of a sudden we fix it, whether it's the personal or the collective. It doesn't work that way. And for you to share, for each of us to be sharing authentically in the breakout sessions is a moment of great courage. And for you to share what you did in the messages in the chat was very courageous. And I really don't think we're going to move to a different level of relating with each other, which is what's being called for, unless we're willing to be courageous in those ways. Courageously vulnerable and saying, this isn't working for me. I didn't feel like I was seen or heard. It's far too common. And again, interesting with that Nina piece, right? I mean, that's her no. It was just, that was startling when I saw that. But that's a very powerful and important thing for us to say. No, that didn't work for me. So thank you.
Also, I just want to acknowledge too that there's a lot of cultural conditioning. I grew up with it. My mother was a fixer. Anytime I shared with her what was going on for me, she was trying to fix it. And it would make me so mad. And I would just be like, Mom, could you just listen and not try to fix me? But I realized I got that from her, and that I could sometimes try to do that. And it's unconscious. So bringing this to conscious awareness is so, so important. And to remind people that when we're listening to someone's story, we're not here to fix it. We're not here to change it. We're not here to make it be different. We're here to listen and just be witness to it, because in that space, the alchemy can happen and the magic can shift, and things can, the magic will shift it to something different just by being witnessed. I've had that experience myself. And so it pains me to think that I might still sometimes jump in and try to fix. Yeah. So I just want to own that because it's such a strong conditioning. Oh, so strong. And so just to hold the space for all of us that this is an opportunity for us to learn to listen and to realize that there was no harm meant, but maybe someone felt that harm, and that is not what was intended. And then how do we go forward in a better way with greater awareness?
Well, and I think too that part of what we're wanting to cultivate culturally is the willingness to be a little uncomfortable for a minute. Because we in the circle, I mean, I will say it's probably clear from my personal story, but this kind of codependent thing of people pleasing, it runs in the water for a lot of us. And so it's going to be maybe especially difficult in those moments where it feels like, oh, I didn't do it right, or there's a little conflict there, it's uncomfortable. We're having to learn how to stand in the place of a little bit of difference of opinion or conflict or not being met, and speaking to that and the discomfort in the room when we do that. We need to grow into that. You know, it's really essential for us to grow into that. So hold each other with gentleness as we also, the gentleness and to be able to sometimes be strong in a way that might be uncomfortable. You know, that's our growing edge. So sorry to focus all that, Ava. Thank you. I hope that wasn't uncomfortable.
This is part of the whole, you know, spotlighting the Pluto shadow. This is good. This is a great thing.
And if it wasn't you, it might have been someone else. You know, we understand where each of us are part of the collective voice that needs to be heard. So is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, I think that's plenty. Thank you.
Thank you. You're wonderful. We love you. Okay. So, Lori, I think you were going to speak. Not Pete, Lori.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Ava for bringing that up, because it has occurred to me in some sharing in the past, sometimes in breakout sessions, that there isn't that kind of feminine structure to how we should be mindful of just sharing, maybe not even asking questions of each other, but just witness and listen. So I really appreciate it that you have the courage to bring that up, because I certainly haven't had the courage to say it. So, but what I wanted to share in all of this is my gratitude for having this space to feel, to be witness, to express pain, to feel it in my body, to just be with it without judgment. You know, there are a few places in life where you can just be that vulnerable and authentic. And speaking for myself, you know, have, you know, groups of like friends, you know, where I can do that. But this is really special. And what I was going to share is a short piece of my own story was that for whatever reason I chose my parents to be born to, because I've learned many lessons and I'm continuing to learn. But my father, and I know I've shared in other times, was a very abusive man. And I was born an incredibly empathic, sensitive child. And so I have these memories of walking with him at a very small age, and he would call somebody some terrible name based on the color of their skin or whatever, and I would completely melt down. And the other piece was that I was incredibly sensitive to Mother Earth. And so I would like my dad would throw trash out the window as we're speeding down the highway, and I would literally burst into tears. Like I just couldn't understand, you know, that behavior. I couldn't understand his hatred of people. And you know, I joke and say I was born a social worker, because of course there was no other path I could take. Because the minute I sat in a social work class, I thought, oh my God, I just came home. Like it mirrors all that I am, all that I value, all of that. And so moving through this time with what's happening on the world stage has been incredibly, incredibly painful. And I just find myself, you know, I just allow myself, I walk around praying in my head, I walk around sobbing while I'm cooking dinner, you know, and I don't want to not take in the daily news, because I believe it keeps my heart so open to compassion. So I just, I mean, my kids laugh at me. I mean, I just, you know, I just allow it to flow. And early on when all of this happened and I, you know, Hillary Clinton lost the election, and I grieved literally for 2 days, like I couldn't even imagine that this could happen. I recognized early on that this person that took over the White House was our collective shadow, and that even as I bristle and have a hard time listening and it pains me, I recognize that he's also our scapegoat, that he offered, you know, to stand on the world stage and hold and bring all that darkness out for us all to see and deal with and grapple with. And so on a good day, I do Tonglen and I breathe in his darkness and I breathe out love. On a bad day, I am prone to not so nice things flowing from my mouth. But one of the things that has been coming to me through all of this is that it just had to get apparently this ugly for us all to wake up. You know, it had to get this brutal and ugly for us to all wake up and take personal responsibility for the world that we've created. And interestingly, I've had several occasions over the past few weeks where spider energy has visited me. I had one hanging from the ceiling in my bathroom this morning, and I reached up and brought her down and took her outside. And I've had twice I've had one in my meditation room that's crawled on me while I'm meditating, which is just interesting. And so that's kind of the hope I guess I hold on to, is that we're spinning that new web, that everything is interconnected, everything does have value, every form of life has value. And I just, you know, just have to keep holding that space and affirming that through the darkness, and yet feel the darkness, and do what I can to address that in the ways that I can. If it's writing formally in letters to a senator who may or may not hear it, I've done it, you know. But I guess long and short of it, I just want to thank you for providing this forum, just to feel it and be with other people who are feeling it too. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Well, somebody was asking about the morning star, how, because of the Jupiter Pluto. So let me just say something. I just want to throw this in real quick before we forget it. The Jupiter Pluto conjunction is exact right now. It's within 5 degrees until the end of the year, till November, I think. And there's another exact conjunction like November 12th. And then we'll, by the beginning of next year, it's going to start separating beyond 10 degrees. So we're in the heat of this the rest of this year for essentially. So that's part of what's happening right now. And then the other pieces will be in the morning star phase until February 13th. And that's when Venus will descend into the underworld, go through her death and rebirth, and then she'll ascend as an evening star. So so some people who have been aware of different ways of working with the Venus cycle, some people just work with Venus's morning star until she conjuncts the sun, not retrograde. But we see it as ending when she disappears from the morning sky and is in the underworld phase and goes through that death and rebirth process. So I just want, so somebody was asking that, I just wanted to make sure we got that in there because that's important information and gives us a sense of the time frame of how we can continue to work with this, feeling this powerfully, doing the Pluto underworld, the descent, the whatever it is that, you know, this is the time. It's really the time. And to have such a magnificently long period of time of Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn, of course, comes back to join the whole party, probably right around now. And so, you know, this is our opportunity, and you know, to take advantage of this, to be informing the mysteries as we're being informed by them. Wow, this is what we lost from ancient times, and we're now getting back.
Thank you, Kaylin, for saying that, and for everyone for really sharing. There was a lot more that was sharing, and I think this is one of the things about this deep sharing, but also having a chat going, that I'm not quite sure how to not have happen, but we have some people who've shared some really important thoughts. And so I'm going to share those because we're really kind of at the end of time. Millie said, old story being released now out of necessity as we're exempt. That suffering happens over there, truly moving into we are each and all in this totally together. Candace saying cooperation and creativity, the true soul of the feminine principle. She is rising out of the ashes. Sandra saying this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn is very potent in this time of the morning star. And then that
was the question I was answering.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Faye says, we can only hope and pray the phoenix will rise from these ashes. Jeffrey, I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing from your heart. Elizabeth, Mahalo, Jeffrey, and Pamela. I was looking for her, and I think she left because I can't find her. I think
she sent me a note saying she left.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and you know, the whole piece, I'll read everything she wrote because it's important. I find it quite interesting that the music is all from white artists, and even the Black woman, Nina Simone, was singing about white artists. The thing that I find at 75 years of age is that whites and Blacks have been so totally separated in this country that even when you talk about the New World story, you are still seeing it from white eyes. Go learn some Black music other than the ongoing rap. Listen to Nina Simone sing her anger. And that is a very good point. I didn't notice that. That is a blind spot. Absolutely. Look for the song called The Black Ship. So that's something for each of us, you know, anyone who feels called to listen to that song. She does speak from a place of anger and clarity. This sadness and grief has been on this planet, in this country, and every country, because Blacks are seen as the ones at the bottom of the human groups. Until you folks search the unknown hatred within your own culture and change that, this country will continue to flail. My youngest son lives in Minneapolis, and he had to explain this phenomena to his 6-year-old daughter. He ended up crying, and that scared her because we still teach that men do not cry. I find it interesting that I am the only Black woman here. Perhaps you need to learn how to open the group and send out your own feelers to bring in women of color to this group. And I think that's a fair point. You know, we look around and there's 40 of us, 39, and there are very few women of color. And so, you know, I appreciate, I wish that she was still in the group. She's not. But Kaylin, I think that it is really important. And I think that is something for Venus Alchemy that we need to have deeper conversation about if we want to change the story. Knowing that this is what's erupting and what has been needing to be seen and heard and felt here in the US and across the globe is specifically about what's happened in our Black communities and about institutionalized racism. I mean, I have to say personally, I think I would love to hear from any and all of you around your thoughts on this topic and how it is that we might, as a group and as a community, become more welcoming for women of color, and how it is that we might even have some layers of what we offer that do integrate the deeper work and the deeper soul searching, because I think personally that it is really important for us to be doing that at this time. So that may not be something, so in the context of an email, Facebook messaging, anything, any way to do that, we invite those comments, and Kaylin and I will talk about that. It's really important. So, wow, there's so many comments here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we probably do need to be wrapping this up, so maybe just pick a couple more that we haven't heard from yet, and then we'll close Sacred Space.
Okay. Yeah. You mean hear from a few more people?
Well, no, I just meant if you wanted to share another piece of somebody's chat. Like, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'll read them. So
somebody said, Janine said something about that Jupiter brings the wisdom of all our relations here on Gaia to the dark goddess process of Pluto's dismembering, so that we can remember, create, and birth a new earth and a new unity consciousness. Gemini asks us to use the power of the word to tell and create the new story. Beautifully said.
So I think part of what we need to do is we need to download the chat, the full chat, because we're already at 10 minutes over and we want to honor people's time.
Yeah.
So we will include a link where people can read the full chat so they can see all of it. And again, just to welcome any and all insight and around, you know, what's come up today. And thank you so much to everyone for the deep work that you're doing. And we are going to complete, Kaylin, I think it's time for the song so that we can complete, and we can just actually, you know, I think what we might do is let's just go ahead and unmute so everyone can say goodbye. And if anyone wants to remain and just do the dancing through like the new alchemy, the Jupiterian alchemy, that's wonderful. Playing Is and his version.
And with this song also we're releasing Sacred Space and all the energies that we called out.
Yeah, exactly. So people can stay or they can go, and we're going to play this music. I'm just going to find it real quick. Okay, Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Israel.
Wow.
He's so great. So, all right. But before that, again, I'm gonna unmute everyone so we can all say, does that sound good, Kaylin?
I sure.
Or should I wait till the end of the song? No, maybe I will. Sorry, I'll wait till the end of the song because it's not very long.
Yeah, that might be better.
Okay, so we can just continue that, and then we can, whoever's left, we can say goodbye at the end. So I'm going to share now.
That was too fun. Love it.
Okay. Thank you all for being present for this circle. Whoa, okay. Can you all hear that? Shoot. Still learning. Wow. Okay. All right, so are you guys okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Okay, so yes, just wanting to honor, I'm gonna go ahead and put everybody on gallery view from my perspective, if everybody wants to just do that so we can see everyone. Wow, you know, everything that came up today it's perfect. It kind of mirrors where we're at, right? kind of mirrors the need to be able to do some deeper work for a lot of us. I think any of us who are in a leadership position right now, it's what we're called to do. There's certain things that we really have to pay attention to. And it's true, I just want to honor that it's going to be much less obvious to us if we are not women of color, that there's almost no one in the room who is not white. And that's something, again, that it's essential for us to have that conversation about. So with that, that's something that's for us as facilitators to work through and to invite your feedback on, and just to also honor the deep work that each woman has brought into the circle and into this room.
And men.
And men, oh my gosh, Jeffrey, see, here it is again. There's one man in this circle, two men in this circle, and here it is. So we have work to do.
Right?
Work to do, and we also have so much gratitude for the privilege of being able to hold this circle and to do this work together and to model perhaps the Gemini fool in these moments. So thank you to each one of your beautiful, tender hearts, and for all of the feeling and all of the emotion that you brought, honoring and acknowledging any of the feelings that came up, whether they be sadness, grief, sorrow, rage, anger, discomfort, joy, releasing, any of what has come up. To just honor all of that we really are truly in this together, that every voice does need to be heard. So honoring this and wanting then to close with just a good closing, just goodbye, and to hear everyone's voices. So I'm going to unmute all. So have a beautiful day, everyone, and just so much love. So we will see you on the other side.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Very
much. Bye.
Bye. So good to have you all here.
Healing day,
All the men and
everyone.
women.
Bye.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye. Bye, James.